Hey guys, Simply Imaginary People. Dia wanted me to make a tutorial on separating objects, so that's what I'm going to do. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to import the object you want to separate into TSRW. Right, now Dia wanted me to take this ladder. So some important stuff. There's a difference depending on what you want to separate. So if I wanted to separate the car consists of special groups. If you can see, like the windows, this is a special mesh setting. So if I want to do the car, it's a bit different than if I want to do a simple mesh here. So what you've got to do, whatever you do, is first of all export the .wazo of the high level of detail and export the .object. I'm just going to call it test for now. Then you're going to go into Blender and you're going to import your object. Right. So as you can see here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. So I'm just going to select these groups and see which group mine is what I want. So it's part of group 3. So I'm just going to delete all the other groups. That already makes it a lot easier. And now I'm going to go into edit mode. And you'll see this is a UV map. So I'm just going to press sync on here and then we're going to press A to unselect it all. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to select areas. And you can see what you've selected here. So it hasn't selected any ladder, so I'm fine to delete that. I'm just going to press delete verts. That selects part of my ladder, so I'm not going to delete that. Another easy way to delete it is to use L. If I click on an object with L, it'll select all parts that belong to, that are grouped together. So I could go around clicking L on everything if I wanted to. Just go to that. Or I can press this button that makes it like see-through, and I can just use B to select big groups, or C. But the easiest way is still to do it up here. It's part of the ladder. Okay. Right. So a tiny bit there. Once you've cleaned up and you've got only what you want, you're just going to go to object mode, and obviously you probably don't want a flowing ladder, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it. It's easier to do in edit mode. Rotate it so that it's like a leaning ladder, and then I'm going to press 5 and 1 on my numpad and move it down till it has normal height, and I'm going to move it into the middle. I'm also going to move it into the middle here if I press 3. This is because I kind of want it centered in game as well, obviously. Right, now I'm going to go to export wavefront object, and I'm just going to export it as my test object. Right, now there's 2 ways to do the next bit. This is where it separates. So if I was separating the car, then I would try to export it into this project again, because A, the car is the biggest part. So if I go to slots and show you the footprint, you can see that the placement is the size of the car. If I separated, say, these, then I'd have a massive, like 4x3 placement for a couple of little garden tools. Second of all, the car includes special groups, such as the see-through windows and lights. For this reason, you can't import it into any other group because all these settings are saved in these groups here. So, say I separated, if I wanted to import it into the same one, what I would do is I would import my thing, and I fiddled around in group 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the first groups, and then I'm going to go and put joints on. And you can see if I go to select an area and I show, they've got this joint. Now it's a problem because it's in the 3rd slot, so I'm going to copy this one, F000, and make it 100% in the 1st slot, and then I'm going to import my ladder, or the car in this case. And then I'm going to go to groups, select my ladder. It's not crashing. That again. Right, hide groups, turn on joints, select area, show joints, move the joint that is the top one, and import my object. Now select it. Really doesn't like me, does it? Not quite sure why. Do it in a different order then. Import my object. Import test object. Delete all materials. Select the group. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. Select group 3. Show joint. And unselect that group. Select my group and assign joint. Right. So now it's yellow like the group should be. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to move it down, delete the original group 3 and rename mine group 3. You've got to keep the first groups in, otherwise you're not going to be able to import it into TSRW. So now you're going to export this as TSRW object. And then here you can import it. Right. Obviously I don't want the car, so now I'm going to remove these groups. If you remove the groups beforehand, you won't be able to import anymore. This is why you've got to keep the groups and then delete them as the last step. Seems TSRW hates me now too. Okay. Right, you're going to have to do this for medium and low level, and then you're going to have to go to shadows, also remove a group, and you're going to have to remake a shadow from your groups. I'm not going to do this now because it's going to take too long, but yeah. So import into high, medium, low, make the high, medium, low shadows. Now the only problem with this is obviously the footprint is massive, and we also have slots. This is like where people can interact with the object, which I don't want. This is why you should only re-import over the same group if it's like the main object, so the car. This can theoretically be changed here, but as I wouldn't do this, as I would only re-import over the old one if I'm making the car, then I wouldn't have to change the footprint. What I'm going to do is I'm going to export these things. So that's the overlay. I'm going to export mask. I'm going to export multiplier, and I'm going to export specular map. Okay, so what I would actually do if it's a small deco object like this is I would make a new object. So I'd open TSRW workshop, and I would import or clone a deco object. doesn't really matter what you clone, just clone something. Obviously, if it's a small item, it's going to be able to be placed on a table, which is going to be weird as hell, so I'm not going to do that. They're not very interesting objects. Guard tower. Plant might be good. Let's pick a plant. There we go. Little plant. Now, annoyingly, plants have two groups, which is super annoying. So all I'm going to do is I'm only going to delete two groups, call this one group 0, and call this one group 1. So you can check from your object, the one with the lower amount of vertices is the shadow group. We don't have a shadow, we don't want to drop shadow because it's not a drop shadow object. So I'm just going to export this to test again, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to import, and then I'm going to delete the top group. Medium level of detail doesn't have a shadow, so I also need one where mine is the only group and it's group 0. Call this test lod. And shadows. Right, now the only thing you need to do, delete recolors, and import all your textures. So overlay. Mask. Multiplier. And specular. And it looks like crap. So what I'm going to do is going to be nosy and just import overlay again. This is what it does when it's being an idiot. Ugh. I forgot to click yes on the update size and heights. That was my problem. So I'm going to import an image that has the wrong size, or a different size, I guess. Like something tiny. It says, do you want to update? Yes. And now I'm going to import my overlay again, and it says, do you want to update? Yes. I know the issues. Need to enable this group. The problem is, this is a 4-color group, and my plant is a 3-color group, so I need to find a 4-color object. Lucky for me, I know that my kids' deco objects are deco objects that have 4 colors. So yeah, you need to pay attention to that because you, unlike clothing, can't make a 4-channel object from a 3-channel object. So same thing. Import test. Oh. This one only has group 0, so I need to import my only group 0 mesh. Now let's just see if the textures work before I do any more. Import overlay. mask, and multiplier. Okay, so I just realized that this is a very weird object. So it seems that the mask and the multiplier and everything I was importing actually only belongs to the car part. And this has its own group. So I'm just going to export this image. Right, and I'm just going to I don't know why it's not letting me export it and saying it's being used. It's being silly. Not quite sure what it thinks is using it. Okay, let me export as a PNG, so I'll just do that. Usually you need to import the images we just did. This is just a very weird object, so we'll just ignore this for the moment. There we go. Now I can see it worked. Right. The thing I'm going to do is make these empty. And when it asks me to update, I'm going to say no, because otherwise it's going to change the size to 0 times 0 and this texture is going to disappear. The specular I usually just leave black anyway. Okay, so I'm going to also turn off all colors because this is a non-colorable object. And I'm going to import it into all of them and create the shadows. As I was saying, like every object is different, like finding texture somewhere else on this object. So it's not so simple to say how it's going to work out. Okay, again here you got the slot. This is the slot now. That works. Looks good. Means it will lean against a wall-ish. Should go up that height. Right. Give it a name. So a ladder. And what you can do now is you're going to go downstairs and say it's decor. And it's not misc decor, it is outdoor decor, I guess. Find these categories. Stick it under sculptures. Probably the best idea. And then go on to outdoors and put it under not outdoor seating, laundry, transport, lawn ornaments. There we go. Right. And then you're pretty much done. You've sorted it, you've made it, got a texture, and now all you can do is go to the project contents. And I'm going to export it to Dropbox. Object deck. Right. What you're also going to do is then open it and go through the image files. That image we deleted. that image we left, that image we deleted, that image we left, that image we deleted. And you're just going to delete the images you don't need because it's going to make your file size a shitload smaller. And then you're going to, obviously, run it through Sims 3 RC. So the steps in short are export it, separate it in Blender, and then you've got to figure out if you need to import it into the same object file or if you need to import it into a new object file. But that's just the point where I'm going to say IM me if you need help because I can't explain it for everything. But you need to consider if it has special groups or not. So does it have, for example, windows or glass or a mirror, anything that isn't just plain old object, because then it gets a bit more complicated. But yeah, in basic, the part you really need is in Blender how to select parts of an object and delete the other parts.